picked up a tape from him. It was the East-West Shrine game in Palo Alto, and Ray Love was giving out free cassette tapes.
Really?
Yeah. I forget, this was early, 93, 94, maybe 95. East-West Shrine game used to be at Stanford University.
Yeah. Sure, I'll believe you.
Yeah,
I don't
back
know.
in the day.
I was 1 year old.
You were 1 year old. 1 year old. We are talking NFC title game, but we're going to take a quick time out because the Dubs are back on the floor. They're back on the court today. We haven't seen them on the floor since Martin Luther King Jr. Day when they lost to the Memphis Grizzlies. And that was probably one of the worst losses of the season. But since then, tragedy has struck the Golden State Warriors organization. Obviously, Dejan Milojević passed away last Wednesday as they were getting ready for a game in Salt Lake City. Had a heart attack Tuesday night at a restaurant they always attend in Salt Lake City. I don't think the Warriors will ever go to that restaurant ever again. And unfortunately, Decky left 2 kids and his lovely wife back on this earth. And just a traumatic time for the Golden State Warriors. They'll hit the floor today. It's about the mood of the team and where their mindset is at. Nobody covers the Warriors better than Anthony Slater, our 95-70 Game Insider. Of course, covers the Dubs for The Athletic. Anthony, good morning, man. Good morning. I know it's been a tough time for the Golden State Warriors, and I know you've had some time off. You've been going up to Sacramento, but being around this team right now, Anthony, mentally, what is the mood of this basketball team right now?
Like subdued, you'd probably say. It was like kind of a, you don't want to say a mental break, but this is going to end up being longer than the All-Star break, right? Yeah. 9 days between games. I don't know how that aids them physically. It's a lot different than being on a tropical beach in February, which you do for the All-Star break, right? Grieving like this. But they're back at practice. In some ways, I do think the games can be, a distraction and emotional outlet, whatever you want to call it tonight. I mean, Bonte, I assume you're going to be out there. Like, I expect it to be a scene. So, I mean, maybe that helps kind of move forward. I mean, you saw it in Serbia, right? Everyone saw the images out there. Yeah. So it's kind of in some ways a special event, but I don't know. It's weird around them. I mean, it's foreign. I don't think people kind of know how to act in this situation.
Yeah, Steve Kerr called it the saddest situation he's ever been involved in. He's been in the league for over 35 years. Now the Warriors tonight, they're encouraging fans to get in their seats before 7 p.m. tip-off because there will be a tribute for Decky before the game, a video tribute. Steve Kerr will say a few words. It won't be a moment of silence from what I'm understanding. It'll be a moment of celebration for Decky. And then, of course, the Serbian national anthem will be played today in honor of Decky because – you've been around this team a lot, Anthony. You've gotten to know Decky. The guy I never saw him without a smile on his face. It just always seemed like he was just happy to be in the league. Obviously, he coached a long time overseas. He played the game, but his rapport with bigs, especially internationally, when Jokic would always come to town, him and Jokic always had a nice dialogue. I never saw Decky in a bad move, Anthony. Bad mood, I should say.
Yeah, no, what I remember most is, you mentioned it, but like not just the European things, but like almost any Eastern European player pregame would see him, spot him from across the court. Very easy to spot, right? Like 6'6", 6'7", huge, burly, kind of has that howling laugh. And they would just, basically jog over every time to give him a hug and check in with him. And it was just clear he had such an impact internationally in that way, to that part of the world. Friendly as can be. I mean, I've had countless conversations with him pregame because he was very inviting to just go. And by the way, I know a lot of people that's kind of been what we've talked about most. I think that's what matters most, right? Like the off-court personality. Smart basketball guy too. I would sit there and talk. I love talking about like the mechanics of like the big man position. And I can remember I talked to him in Memphis the day before this all happened. And, we were talking about the game, but we were also talking about Trace Jackson Davis and the way he can kind of pass on the short roll and just Decky's belief that big men, at the highest level just need to be able to pass. Obviously he was Jokic's tutor. He was trying to teach James Wiseman some of this stuff, but just kind of that natural feeling, because that's what he was really good at when he played. And I think that's maybe getting lost a little bit. Like this guy was a really good coach too.
Go ahead, Spino. Get in.
So, Anthony, you're talking about Steve Kerr here and what has been a very difficult season on the court for them, obviously, and now, adding an unfortunate death here on top of it, one of his staff members. Can you just speak to how he has handled all of this, kind of being the voice for the Warriors in such a difficult time? Because I read the article from Marcus Thompson II, your colleague for The Athletic, and man, it almost like, got me choked up a little bit, just all that he had to deal with. He had to communicate with his family, all of that. And he was kind of the leader. Obviously, he's the leader of the team being the head coach, but being the emotional leader as well, I think we have kind of undervalued here in what has been a hard season on the court. Can you just speak to what you've seen from Kerr during his last week and a half leading this team, both on and off?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it, and I think it is a good idea. Anybody that wants to read Marcus's story on it, but this is Steve Kerr's specialty, right? Like management of situations, particularly situations that extend far beyond the X's and O's, and having the setting that this all happened in, right? It was a team dinner where at a place that the coaches particularly love to frequent in Salt Lake City. It's a Ron Adams special. For it to happen there, I think sprung Steve Kerr into action as kind of like the leader of the response of all of this. And I mean, you mentioned it, dealing with the family. I mean, Steve even talked about, speaking with Dejan's two kids about losing a father, because it's something he dealt with and I think has shaped him. And I mean, we can all know has shaped him. I mean, he goes on CNN sometimes and talks about, the way that affected his life. So just his life experience and just also his human touch. Steph had a good quote in the Marcus story about that too. But this is why he is considered one of the best coaches in the league, because coaching goes so far beyond, the rotational patterns that we discuss on most weeks, and probably we'll start discussing again tonight, I assume. But I think they will be guided through this a lot smoother than in most situations, because who the head coach is. I mean, that's just what it is.
Yeah, of course, Decky, his wife, Natasha, their children, two children, Nicola and Masa, they were there Wednesday night. They flew out there. Steve Kerr really, like you just pointed out to in that Marcus Thompson story, Steve Kerr really stepping up to fill that leadership void for not only this basketball team, for Decky's family, as we're talking to Anthony Slater here. So we're going to try to transition here, not to tonight's game. Obviously, the Warriors are back on the floor. We haven't seen them since Memphis. We'll react to that once we see how the Warriors play against Atlanta. I'm not sure if Trae Young is going to play. I haven't even checked the injury report. It's just kind of been away from basketball as the Warriors grieve Decky's death. But the Team USA group finalists came out the other day. 41 players, I believe, 42 players. Steph Curry is one of them. Is he given to be on that Team USA team? Because I know there's a lot of great point guards on that list, but it feels like Steph's got a spot on that roster, right, Anthony?
If he wants it, how does this season end? How, physically, how draining is it? Does he have a deep playoff run at this point? I'm sure he'd love to have a deep playoff run, but if he doesn't, then maybe he's more refreshed. I mean, the simplest way to answer your question is if he wants to be on the team, yes, right. Steph Curry will be on the team, right? Yeah. It's just stuff can happen between now and then. That's why I think he's been going as far as to say, I want to do it, but not committing fully to it. But the fact he's on that list, like you said, says plenty. And yeah, I think he'd be the starting point guard for Steve Kerr's Team USA team if he wants to be. Well,
you got to move over Austin Reeves. You got to get past that guy first. But I had to sneak that in there, Bonte. Sorry. Realistic expectations for this. Obviously, the trade deadlines, we're 2 weeks away from it tomorrow. Expectations for the squad. I mean, you got kind of a tough stretch here to come out of this. Hawks, okay, but then you got the Kings, you got the Lakers, you got the Sixers on Tuesday, Anthony. Realistic expectations ahead of the trade deadline for this team.
Well, this 9-day break came at a decision point for this Warriors team, and Mike Dunleavy's discussed and indicated, remember he wanted that 15 to 20 games to see this team, and he's even kind of talked about wanting to see this team with Draymond. Is there any type of final push that can incentivize the Warriors to believe that they can, get back into true contention and want to give this team a boost in the trade market, maybe use future assets, add money, that type of thing? Or, are they 18 and 22? They're facing this 4-game homestand, which, by the way, is difficult. No Trae Young tonight, by the way. I know you asked that. He's not playing. But after that, it's Kings, off 2 days rest. And then it's Lakers at ABC Saturday night, and it's Sixers Tuesday with Joel Embiid, who just scored 70. So, if you go 1-3 or something in this 4-game stretch, you're 19 and 25. Yeah. As the deadline really cranks near, you have the highest, tax bill. You have some contracts that go deep into the future. Andrew Wiggins is the one you would probably highlight most, and you got decisions to make. So, the flip side is if Draymond looks good, and you go 3-1 or perhaps 4-0, and you're, let's just say 3-1, you're 21-23, and kind of boosting forward. I mean, maybe there is some more motivation. So I just think this is a really big week to see how they come out of this.
Yeah, no doubt. I can't wait to see how much autonomy the Lakers give Mike Dunleavy in terms of if he does want to move some pieces here. That'll come in the next 2 weeks, of course. But tonight, a game in which the Warriors will honor their assistant coach, Dejan, man. Dejan, what an unfortunate situation. Just 46 years young, leaving this world, of course, with his wife, Natasha, and his 2 kids there. Anthony, we'll see you later tonight at Chase Center, buddy. Thanks for the time.
All right, fellas.
Anytime.
Thanks, Anthony
Slater here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game.